back to Hell's Kitchen, and guess what? It's raining in Vancouver today. And nothing goes better with a rainy day than some hot, savory Vietnamese soup. Today, we are making Bun Rieu. And today's recipe is going to be for 8 liters of broth in a 10-liter pot. Good for at least 10 bowls for your family and friends. Now, Bun Rieu has always had a soft spot in my heart because some of my friends make some really good Bun Rieu. But also in Vietnam, when I'm at my aunt's house, it's one of the first things served in the morning. If you wake up on time by like 6, 7 a.m., by 8 a.m. the pot is gone. So there were many mornings a little bit hungover, and nothing beats a nice bowl of Bun Rieu in the morning. Now before we go through some of the ingredients, just like all of my cooking videos, all the ingredients will be listed in the description below, so you guys can just copy and paste it and go straight to the supermarket. Ding! So now I'm going to go through some of the ingredients for the broth. This here is the star of the show. This is cua dao. Little tiny crabs. They're kind of like mud crabs, straight from Vietnam. Cua dao. I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do with these guys in a bit here. Now, for the broth, 8 liters of broth. I find that the sweet spot is about 3 to 4 pounds of pork bones. Any type of pork bones. You can use baby back ribs, you can use pork neck, pork hock. What we're using here is 2 pounds of pork neck and 1.5 pounds of pork hock. Now for the Rieu. The Rieu is where you're gonna get most of the flavors for your broth and give it that nice Bun Rieu flavor. For the Rieu, I like to use 2 pounds of ground pork, 1 pound lean, 1 pound regular or a little bit fatty, and I'll show you guys in a bit. I have here 100 grams of dried shrimp. You can use 100 to 150 grams of dried shrimp. 1 whole crab. This is just Dungeness crab. This is optional. And 400 grams of minced crab. I just have 2 variations here. It's nice also if you buy 2 of these jars. It also has a needle seed oil to give it that nice vibrant color, so you don't have to do the whole needle seed and oil thing. Also 5 eggs and shallot and garlic that we're gonna throw in there later. Here also 1 pound of shrimp. And the last ingredient, mắm ruốc. This is a must for your Bun Rieu. So now we're gonna go through some of the other ingredients. These are just mainly toppings for your Bun Rieu. First here I have 2 packages of soft tofu. This is pork blood. What I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna cook this on the sides. First I'm going to soak it in salt water for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to cook this on medium heat on the side for 10 minutes to fully cook it, but in a separate pot. Some green onions, some Vietnamese ham, chả lúa, rock sugar. This is also for the broth, just so to sweeten the broth. Some bean sprouts. We have here some rau muon bao. So this is water spinach, and this is the other more water spinach and perilla leaves. And this is bok choy. Bok choy here, we're gonna shred this or cut it very thin. This is banana flour. And of course, 6 tomatoes. Now we're gonna saute these up and then dump it into the broth. Bun Rieu usually has like a nice tomatoey broth, and I'm just gonna use tomatoes today, but you can also add about 200 or 100 mils of tomato paste. I find that tomato paste gives it a nice color too, but today we're just gonna use a lot of tomatoes. And of course here we have some rice vermicelli. You're gonna need at least 2 packs of these, maybe 3 if you're making 10 bowls. And last but not least, the secret ingredient of all the secret ingredients. You're gonna need at least 2 cups of this shit. Calms you the down. Alright, so now I'm gonna go through some of the first steps that I take or I do when I'm making Bun Rieu. The first thing is you wanna soak your dried shrimp in hot boiling water. You just want enough just to cover it, and you wanna let it soak for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes and just let it soak and hang out. And then I wanna start on my broth. what I want to do with all the pork bones is I want to clean it in a separate pot for 10 minutes, boil it for 10 minutes and clean it so that it's clean, and then I want to dump it into my 8 liters of broth once everything is clean. Also, you want to let it go down here. What you want to do is just let it defrost. And soak it in some water and just let these guys hang out. Once they defrost and soften up, then we will work with them. And you want to boil your crab. You want to boil your Dungeness crab for exactly 15 minutes. I find that that is the sweet spot. So now that I've cleaned and boiled this for 10 minutes, I'm going to dump it into my fresh pot here. The cleaning step is very important. So I dump all this in. And as soon as I dump this in, just to get the pot started, I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of salt, just to get it going. So once this comes up to a boil, what you want to do is lower the heat to medium to low heat, and occasionally you want to skim all this nastiness away here. With your skimmer, of course. And now, it is time for my big Bun Rieu secret reveal. But first, a word from our sponsors. Xin chào các bạn, tên mình là Lan Quang Anh. Mình rất hạnh phúc và may mắn được giúp cộng đồng người Việt Nam mình mua và bán nhà tại Vancouver. Nếu các bạn có nhu cầu, xin hãy liên hệ với mình. Số phone mình là 778 512 3818. So now is the time to make new moves. I don't know who this guy is, but he sponsors most of my videos. Whatever. So I'm sitting here one day and I'm looking at these guys. And this is go down. And I'm like, how the heck do I squeeze the most juice and flavor out of you guys? Protein? Protein powder. So this is a 2-step process, guys. What I did here is just blended up all the udon, and it is all blended up. What I want to do now is I just want to take all the juices. I want to suck all the juices out. So into the strainer. Now it doesn't really look appealing. I know some of you guys are probably like, this looks like I don't know. But so what I want to do here is I want to get all of the juices out. All of these juices out of here. See that? Oh, that's the good stuff. That's what you want. You want this. There you go. And I'm going to save this for the real. So you have about a cup of mud juice here, guys. This is all flavor. This is what is going to give it its distinctive Bun Rieu flavor, the gudao. And the second step to this now is, you see all this shell here, all this flavor that's stuck here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dump it into my pot, but with the strainer, like this. So second step here is I'm just trying to suck out all the flavor, all the juices. And I want to let this sit on here for about a couple minutes, just so that you get all that flavor into your broth. And I just feel that this is something that I would just like to do for my Bun Rieu. So this is what floats on top after, and you actually don't want this in your Bun Rieu. You want to get, this step is important, you want to get rid of this stuff. Right, all this stuff here, you want to get rid of it. This does not taste good and you don't want it in your Bun Rieu. You get some other quality stuff later on, don't worry. Take all this stuff out and then your broth will be a lot better. Now, we are on to making the real, which is the star of the show, why we have Bun Rieu. So first off, remember these dried shrimp here? What I did was I drained the water, I dumped the water into the pot for all the flavors, and here we have the dried shrimp. So you're gonna dump your 100 grams or 150 grams of dried shrimp in here. And I'm using a blender, of course, because I find that this is the easiest way to blend everything together. And we have some shallots, a couple shallots here, and 5 cloves of garlic in. And first, I want to blend this up. All this gudao flavor, all this flavor, now it's gonna go in here, go into my reel. This is the good stuff. The premium of the premium primo stuff. Then I'm gonna dump in my first 1 pound of fatty ground pork. You wanna give this a nice and good blend. Next step is the shrimp. That's my 1 pound of shrimp. And some seasoning. For the seasoning, I like to put in about a tablespoon or a little bit over a tablespoon of sugar. And the all important mắm ruốc. Mắm ruốc, I like it kind of salty, so I'm gonna go with at least 2 tablespoons of mắm ruốc. Now the rest of the eggs to give it some juice. So in total, I'm gonna use about 5 eggs. Now for the very last step, and the reason why I'm doing this last is I don't want to break up the crab meat or the last of the ground pork. I want it to have a nice little firm texture. What's nice about these jars is it already comes with the needle seeds. If you feel like there's not enough, you can always make more. But I'm gonna dump this in here and it's gonna give it a nice color. So because I want to hold this nice texture, I'm gonna add my last lean pound of ground pork at the very end. And all of the crab meat that we got from that one crab. And then I'm gonna give it a nice mix by hand, and you just want to mix this by hand gently and just give it a nice, just mix it very well. So now that my Rieu is nicely mixed, guys, what I want to do is just let it sit for at least half an hour and just let all the flavors marinate. You could actually do this ahead of time the night before and just let it sit. So now it's time to saute the tomatoes. I'm gonna give it a couple teaspoons of vegetable oil and some garlic and some minced shallots. You want to do this on medium heat because you don't want the garlic to burn. Once this is going, I'm going to drop in my tomatoes. And you want to saute this on medium heat for about a couple minutes just to get the flavor out. Once I sweat down the tomatoes a bit, I want to throw in about 2 tablespoons of chicken powder and 1 tablespoon of sugar. So after a few minutes, it'll be ready to dump into your broth. Now before I dump my tomatoes or anything into the pot, I want to make sure that the last of this nastiness is gone. You want to skim all this away. You don't want any of this in your soup. And then we dump in the tomatoes. Some tofu. And just let it sit. Now, back to the Rieu. Now with the Rieu, what you want to do is put it in your boiling pot of water. But what I've seen with this is you can either deep fry it, you can steam it. Wait a minute. We're pretty extra on this channel. So, alright, here I have some steamed Rieu and some deep fried Rieu. This here is kind of more like a deep fried like jack-ab, but it's really your Rieu paste. When you fry it, it holds its texture really nice. This here is just like a steamed meatloaf. This also holds its texture really nice when you're serving it into bowls, and you can just scoop it out like that. Now, it doesn't matter what you do, you still need to put this Rieu, because this is where all your flavors at, into your pot. So what I like to do is just nice big chunks like this and just drop it in there. This is where the action is. You just drop it in there, and the more you drop, the more flavor the broth is going to get. At the end of your 10 bowls, you're probably going to use all of this, and just drop it in there, and you just let it sit. Let it boil, and all the flavors will combine together. Now, it is time to season the broth. All this time, we really haven't seasoned the broth, guys. We just really started with a couple tablespoons of salt. Here, I have 50 grams of rock sugar. I use rock sugar in pho, but I also like to use it in Bun Rieu. So I'm just gonna drop 50 grams of sugar. You can always add more or less. It depends on how sweet you like it. I like to do this to melt it all. Give it a nice mix, melt all the rock sugar, and then dump it in here. Give it a nice stir. And for the sodium, or the salt, what I like to do is I like to start off with a nice base of one nice big helping of mắm ruốc, the shrimp paste. And for basically any broth, what you guys want to do is you want to have it a little bit on the saltier side. And the reason behind that is once you pour all the broth with the noodles are going to soak up most of the flavors. And if you have a broth that is perfect at the moment, but once you dump it into the noodles, it'll soak up all the flavor, then you have kind of like a bland type of soup, and you don't want that. And now it is time to make my bowl of Bun Rieu, finally. First off, I'm going to start off with a couple pieces of pork blood, some Vietnamese ham, and I have my yaw heo here. And now we are gonna go for the broth. A little bit of tofu. And you want this real here. Yeah, put it there. And then broth. And I want to give it a little bit of the real that was steamed. A little of the real that was fried. Some green onions on top. Here. And some ramu, and I like a little bit of bok choy and the perilla leaves. I don't really like green sprouts in my bowl. This is the perilla leaves, and last but not least, the crab claw. And if you like a little bit more color in yours, you could always add all this little needle seed oil on top of your Bun Rieu to give it a nice little color. Makes it look a lot better. And ta-da! Here's my bowl of crab Vietnamese Bun Rieu. And if you guys made it far to this video, you guys really deserve to know that the best thing that goes with Bun Rieu is Han Phi. Ta-da! Hey guys, I want to thank you for joining me with another episode of Hell's Kitchen. If you guys like what you see, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and bye-bye!